13.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back, because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We are in the mix right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on GameTime Decisions. And we have a full Major League Baseball slate. A really nice WNBA card, which will feature the Queen of the Court. We'll get into that in just a little bit. We are also approaching the NBA draft with still NBA trades happening in the lead-up with really relevant names. Drew Holiday is back on the Blazers. Was he ever on the Blazers? Kind of on the Blazers. He's with the Blazers. Jordan Poole was traded. The Zards are, I don't know, trying to compete next year. We'll figure it out. But let's dive right into the Major League Baseball world. It's a Tuesday. It means we're looking for some home run shots. We'll start with myself and the crew. Where are we looking for some juice on that board? Biggest ticket belongs to AJ. That's late night Tommy Edman. Makes sense, though, playing at Coors Field against German Marquez. The Dodgers on the road. Better than minus 250 to win that baseball game. James Wood from Yarnell. Not the best, least most unbiased man in the history of sports media case given out to James Wood, but he also has reminded me, I feel like 100 times, that James Wood's already gone over his season-long home run prop, so I can't hate on it. Vladdy Jr. gets the call. That game's right around the corner. Blue Jays, Guardians. Toronto sneaky 41-36. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about where Toronto sits right now. I'm not sure a lot of people talk about the fact that the Yankees lead within the American League is just 2 on Tampa Bay and then 3.5 on Toronto. That slump has put them, in a more vulnerable position. I'm going Casey Schmidt, late. With Cal Quantrill, who has been rocked this season by righties, going for the Marlins against the Giants. Let's hope we get some pop from Casey Schmidt this year, who's off to a nice little start, getting better for the Giants as that season goes on. If we're looking for some best bets here, we might as well rip these off the card right away. I'm going to the W, Storm Fever, over the 167.5 Double bounce back spot for really talented offenses in Seattle with Skylar Diggins and Gabby Williams not playing well in their most recent game efficiency-wise. Caitlin Clark going, of course, for the Fever, needing to snap out of a really big slump right now from beyond the arc. So I like that over. Brewers team total gets some love. A fade of Andrew Heaney for Chris over the 4.5 at even money. White Sox money line for AJ as they go up against the Diamondbacks. Ryan Nelson has the ball for Arizona. And then Flamengo on the money line for Yarnell. Shout out to Flamengo. Beat Chelsea in their most recent match. Shout out to my guy JP from college. I have a Flamengo jersey. Not a lot of people know that about me. We want to get into your main event, though, tonight. When you go through the entire slate, there's a few things you could make a case for. But I think the winner has to be the Cincinnati Reds and the New York Yankees. You'll notice on your top books, there's a tab today, Chase Burns. Chase Burns of the Cincinnati Reds makes his major league debut. Chase Burns making it against the New York Yankees feels quite appropriate. I think a lot of excitement for Reds fans, and I'm sure a lot of excitement for Chase Burns, who says he grew up a Yankee fan. In fact, here's Chase Burns talking about making his debut against the New York Yankees.
I mean, it's a historical team going against a great lineup, so one of my favorite teams growing up. I love Derek Jeter, so to be able to go against them, it's awesome.
I guess when you were a kid, were you imagining yourself in the big leagues in a Yankee uniform?
Probably, honestly. I wanted to be like Derek Jeter. I played shortstop, so, but I'm excited to have a Reds uniform on.
You got that wrong.
Yeah, I did.
The Cincinnati Reds drafting strategy appears to be guys who wish they could play shortstop but have to settle for being rock star pitchers. Shout out Hunter Green. For the Cincinnati Reds, this team has been able to win 2 in a row, taking the final game against St. Louis to avoid a sweep. Still, the Reds have yet to be swept this season. Only team in baseball, and then grabbing the first game in this series against the New York Yankees. I'm playing this game. I'm laying a 1.5 with the New York Yankees. And that has a lot more to do with the Yanks positioning and Carlos Rodon than a straight-up fade of Chase Burns. Rodon has had himself a positive season, I would say, ultimately, for the New York Yankees. But it's not been his most positive recent outings. It is the second worst 3-game stretch of his season, allowing 3 or more earned runs in 3 consecutive games, 2 of those coming against Boston. He's been hit a little bit more recently in the Bronx, but you'll notice his road splits have an ERA sub-3, which is, I think, really important going into this game against Cincinnati, where it feels like we have a clear and identifiable bounce-back spot for Carlos Rodon. The Chase Burns piece of it, while I think there is, again, a lot of excitement for the player, one thing I know he has going against him is being a rookie and going against Aaron Judge, who has seemingly homered off every single rookie he has seen this season. The excitement around Burns has a lot to do with what these minor league most recent results for him have been, where they do compare somewhat favorably to Paul Skeens. And I think that being the case means when we look at the National League Rookie of the Year market, how live is Chase Burns? For a while, we saw Drake Baldwin positioned as the favorite. The plus 220 number has the second best odds. If you have been, checking in routinely to Game Time decisions, perhaps you followed our guy AJ in the back, who gave out Drake Baldwin, I believe, in the moonshot category for National League Rookie of the Year. Baldwin, though, has been jumped by Jacob Mizorowski, the youngster for the Milwaukee Brewers, who is, I believe, only 2 starts in to his major league career. It's that those 2 starts for Mizorowski have been so incredible and dominant, and I'm right about that. It's been 2 starts. I don't think he gave up a hit until the 11th or inning he was pitching in. I mean, he was really, really impressive. It shows that this race is still pretty open, right? Jacob Wilson, despite the fact that Roman Anthony and Jack Caglione were called up in the American League, has just created way too much distance, because Jacob Wilson is very clearly going to compete for a batting title this year. If Judge slips up enough, the only person that seems to be within an actual range to catch Judge is the A's rookie. The National League situation is much different. And if Mizorowski, again, a historic 11 innings to start his career, but if in 11 innings he can get himself to the favorite, especially if I'm wrong tonight and the Yanks don't cover a run line, or Chase Burns goes out there and goes through a lot of these numbers that we're seeing, the 4.5 strikeouts, 5.5 strikeouts at plus money. It's an 8 strikeout game. Sits down Aaron Judge twice, something along those lines. That 15-1 is going to move. Paul Skeens came up late last year, relatively speaking, to this race, and some wondered, come on, no way. And remember the stranglehold it felt occasionally that Shoto Imanaga had on that. Don't forget the Jackson Merrill burst that got him at one point to the favorite within that National League Rookie of the Year race. So that is where this Chase Burns start feels so important, because he begins his march to a potential Rookie of the Year at 15-1. I think this game moves in either direction. If he goes out there and gives up 4 or 5 runs, Yanks bats are awake, it's going to get him to the 20, maybe 30-1 range. He goes 5 scoreless, that number's under 10-1. That's my belief around Chase Burns. Excited for that game tonight. We're going to get into the full baseball card, full WNBA card, next right here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
With you right here on SportsGrid. The Major League Baseball board is featuring tonight, assuming the weather cooperates, the American League Cy Young winner and favorite in Tariq Skubal going against Luis Severino. Severino, to me, remains one of the most fascinating pitchers in baseball this season. I do not know I think some of the Luis Severino splits are coincidence, if you will, more than, clearly Sacramento is cores multiplied. But to have 10 starts at home and a near 7 ERA and 6 starts on the road and a sub-1 ERA is absolutely ridiculous. I saw that line for that game was 7.5, juiced towards the under. I was tempted to grab, you could get +2 runs with the A's at -114. It was a tempting number, and not even fading Skubal. Truly. Just Severino this season, outside of Sacramento, has, at least the ERA, if I can run that risk, has been incredible this season. Vladdy Jr., by the way, stepping to the plate. Man on. We'd love to see that game turn to 3-0. Baseball board for me tonight, actually, on a Dinger Tuesday, features some unders. There's 3 unders that I found myself thinking were worth an opportunity. The first one that we go to is Twins Mariners under the 8.5 at -110. I was able to sidestep a loss in this game last night where I was considering the under in a Wu Ober start. Bailey Ober has just been awful in now 4 consecutive starts for Minnesota. J-Rod hit a homer. They teed off yesterday on the Twins. Paddock, maybe the mistake I avoided with Ober, I'm about to make with Chris Paddock, but it feels like he is in line for a nice bounce-back spot. His home road splits are certainly much shinier at home. I tend to think Luis Castillo could have a really good start here in this one. Castillo on the season is now giving up 4 earned, 2 earned, and 3 earned in his most recent starts. Castillo is still a pitcher that every 4 starts can give you a gem, and I think that he's in line for potentially one like that tonight. I'm also playing under in Royals-Rays. It's Taj Bradley and Chris Bubich. The Bradley piece of it is pretty straightforward. He is on the wrong side of some absolute nightmare starts this year, none worse than the 4 outs recorded, 6 runs allowed against Baltimore that somehow still resulted in a Rays win. This is more about Chris Bubich on this under 8.5, where it feels like we are now going to find out just how fraudulent his start to the season was. The famous back and forth between myself and Tom on this show around Bubich and Skubal, which to some degree got twisted and shifted, where we're talking about what would happen off the ERA, but what might happen off of an xFIP. Bubich getting beat up a little bit in 2 starts, one against the Yanks and one against the Rangers, is totally fine. He gave up 8 runs in those 2 starts. If you look on the season, in the prior 12, he had allowed 12 earned runs. Can Bubich bounce back at home against a dangerous Tampa Bay team? We're going to find out. And then I'm going to play an under 8 in Garrett Crochet, Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson has some concerning numbers. I understand that, but has, kind of a theme for me tonight. A player with really strong home road splits towards the home end of it. And Garrett Crochet is an ace. I think when we talk about the American League Cy Young Award race, my point with Skubal was about what if the season ended today, but really what is more important is about where these guys are projected to go, and that is a big part of Skubal's -300 number. But I do think that Garrett Crochet, the preseason favorite within this market, is still set to give Tariq Skubal a run for his money, as he is at 125 strikeouts on the season and still pitching to a 2.20 ERA on the year. So I'm playing under 8 in that game. We mentioned the 1.5 run line that I'm playing with the New York Yankees. Last bit of action for me today, it's Cubs-Cardinals, and I was involved in this one yesterday looking for runs. I was hoping the St. Louis side can maybe carry. They absolutely did. We saw a few home runs from that team in that game. Nootbaar, Donovan, Burleson, and Gorman all went deep in that baseball game. Today, I think Chicago bounces back. This is a team who has only lost 3 straight games once this season. They've lost 2 in a row. We're getting a -112 number on Jamison Tyone, who I think is in a nice little bounce-back spot. I think Michael McGreevy can be had on the St. Louis side of it. I really like the number that I'm getting here on the Chicago Cubs. I mean, even if you just compare it yesterday, Ben Brown is terrible and was 10 to 15 cents more expensive. So that is just one of those situations where I think we've got ourselves a really, really nice opportunity. Some breaking news in the NBA, and we will talk on our show tonight about some of the news around the NBA, but the Boston Celtics continuing to make moves yesterday, shipping out Drew Holiday, bringing in Anthony Simons. Today, they ship out Kristaps Porzingis. It is a 3-team trade between Boston and Atlanta. Kristaps and a pick will be going to the Hawks. Terrence Mann and Atlanta's 22nd overall pick will be going to the Brooklyn Nets. And Georges Niang and a second-round selection will go back to the Boston Celtics. The headlines there: Boston gets rid of Kristaps, sending him to Atlanta. The Nets get the 22nd overall pick, giving them more momentum heading into tomorrow's NBA draft. They have their eyes on moving up. The Celtics continue to shed salary, and this move probably adds a little bit more security to the idea of Jaylen Brown staying in Boston. We'll get more of the headlines around the sports world for you next here on Sport.
Just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. That's what San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here, reportedly, of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark?
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter or this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scotty, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. You know, don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions is live on a Tuesday night. At the top of the hour, we will talk WNBA with you here on SportsGrid. We did just see a bit of headline news in the Boston Celtics, who made a big trade yesterday with Drew Holiday going to Portland, have now put Kristaps Porzingis out and is now heading towards Atlanta. There are some other headlines around the sports world that perhaps you missed. We wanted to catch you up on. And Cal Raleigh, I know, is hard to ignore these days. He is as hot as can be. He has now homered in 4 consecutive games, 5 home runs in that stretch of baseball. Over his last 7 days, he's batting a ho-hum .480. Over the last month, he's hitting .323. He leads Major League Baseball in home runs and RBI, 32 and 68. But it is now no longer just, oh, look, Cal Raleigh's having a good home run season for a catcher. Cal Raleigh is just having a historic home run level season, and it is forcing major movement in the American League MVP race. Aaron Judge's minus 1,300 is still the biggest favorite of anyone right now in the award races of Major League Baseball. But that number was minus 200,000 around a week ago. Cal Raleigh was 30-1 in that same time frame. He is now plus 550. The idea of any player, not just Cal Raleigh, any player pushing Aaron Judge in this season that Judge is having, where he has been the best version of himself up until still this point here, even if maybe the last week or so of baseball hasn't been the same standard of the weeks prior. That is a remarkable accomplishment alone from Cal Raleigh. I think the reality is, if a Judge cold streak ends up prolonged the way his beginning of last season was in April, and Cal Raleigh actually gets to 65 home runs, then we may end up with an American League MVP race. That Cal Raleigh number has been on the move, home run after home run. You may have also missed some upsetting news for the Arizona Diamondbacks as their superstar Corbin Carroll is now headed to the IL. Only a 10-day stint expected, but a fractured left wrist. You never know just how long that might be. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, it's just not really something they can afford. We knew that the American League West was going to be good. I think to some degrees it's exceeded expectations with the Giants' strong start to the year. The D-backs, who some thought would be the second best team in that division, are the 4th best team in that division. While only being 2.5 back of a wild card spot, it's really jumbled up and bunched up. A loss of Corbin Carroll, who's already hit 20 home runs, by the way, 5 away from his best. He's played 72 games. He hit 25 in 2023 in 155 games. So Corbin Carroll flirting with a maybe 40-40 season, at least on the power end of it. I know he's not been swiping as many bags, but now heads to the IL. Perhaps you did miss the latest from Tyrese Halliburton, the NBA world. Of course, the Tyrese Halliburton injury nobody missed. But Tyrese did send out a really long tweet over at Ty Halliburton 22. And within that, he maybe answered a question that some had. And it's, did Tyrese Halliburton regret stepping out onto that floor with the risk he was running of the calf strain into an Achilles tear? And he answered that with a resounding no. Within that very long tweet from Halliburton that is worth your time to read, he says, and honestly, right now, torn Achilles and all, I don't regret it. I'd do it again and again after that to fight for this city and my brothers for the chance to do something special. And that was absolutely there on the plate for the Indiana Pacers. I talked about it on yesterday's show. I believe the Indiana Pacers, had Halliburton been able to hold up for the rest of that game, would have actually pulled off the unthinkable and won the NBA championship. And Halliburton must feel similarly, despite his season for next year already being done. No regrets. And just quickly, but maybe you missed it, the New York Knicks and the latest around their coaching search. I think everybody knows it's still ongoing, but it's continuing to find new paths to walk. And an assistant who is well known in Mike Nori for the Minnesota Timberwolves is now becoming a candidate for this job. I think the tough thing for the Knicks is when you try and get Chris Finch for an interview and you have to settle for his top assistant, it's why so many people have so many questions around that coaching search. We head to the WNBA after a quick break. We're with you right here on SportsGrid.
just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I did thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. That's what San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here, reportedly, of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark?
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter and this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid. It is a Tuesday night. Kevin Walsh with you. And I know we're going to get to the WNBA. I absolutely promise. Just, in the commercial break, thinking a little bit more about that deal that sends the 22nd pick to the Brooklyn Nets. That's the part of that trade that fascinates me the most, the Kristaps deal. Because Brooklyn now has 5 or 6 first-round picks tomorrow. I want to pull this up quickly. They have 8, 19, 22, 26, and 27. And Brooklyn has already been reported to being interested in trading up. The team I've seen most connected to trading back would be Philly at 3. If Brooklyn comes up to 3, is it to acquire Ace Bailey? Is that the perfect landing spot? Ace Bailey right now sits at plus 550 to go 3rd overall. We have seen Philly connected to VJ Edgecombe, presently a minus 320 number to go 3rd overall. What I would let you know is just, again, through following all of the reporting, the Charlotte Hornets have an affinity for Edgecombe, the Baylor freshman. He's plus 400 to go 4th overall, where maybe we are going to be playing more of a guessing game on who comes up to 3 and what the Sixers would do if they are there. I feel confident that Edgecombe goes 4 if he's on the board. Again, the books right now don't think he will be. It's why Colin Knippel is minus 185 to go 5th. I'd be careful chasing the juice on that number. Certainly something we'll be keeping our eye on throughout tomorrow's NBA draft coverage. Now, getting to the WNBA tonight, a somewhat familiar face returns, and that is the once king of the court promo from DraftKings, which is now the queen of the court promo. Same idea, whoever leads today's slate in points, rebounds, and assists. If your player that you bet on ends up that top spot, then you are going to get a share of the pie. I just wanted to put into perspective for everybody who the top point, rebound, and assist total players are on today's slate. Caitlin Clark is kind of in a tier of her own. Her 36 plus, I'm using the DraftKings numbers, of course, as we should be, is minus 105. You then have a 30-plus group. Okay, some plus money factoring in, but here are the shortest prices for players at 30-plus. Paige Beckers of Dallas and Kelsey Plum of LA, both minus 110. Ryan Howard for Atlanta is plus 125. And then you'll find Angel Reese at plus 145. Angel Reese coming off of a nice follow-up in her most recent outing, rebounding the basketball after what I believe was potentially her least impactful rebounding effort over the weekend. Had a 2-rebound game, followed it up with a 19-rebound double-double against the Atlanta Dream in a loss. In that game, the Sky and the Sparks, when you play the queen of the court bet, you can do a parlay, which gives you access to 2 players. So as long as one of your 2 players hits, you would get a share of the queen of the court bonus pie. One of that for me then is going to be Dariqa Hamby. Now, over the 7.5 rebounds is the number that I am going to use on the DraftKings options. If you're not betting the promo, I really like Hamby over her 11.5 rebounds plus assists, which is an even money bet over on FanDuel. Hamby has missed that number in 2 in a row. She has not missed that number in 3 straight since she really just started to get on this run, upticking her statistics across the card. And Hamby, one of the reasons I think she's really worth it for a queen of the court chance here, her last 3 scoring outings have only featured a combined 31 points, all 3 games under 15 points scored. Hamby typically will get to 20, 1 in every 4 games. So I think you could see something along the lines for Hamby tonight of a 22, 10 and 5, which is going to give her a chance to get in the race. Paige Beckers, though, is the other player for me in the Queen of the Court promo, where the Dallas Wings at home are an 8.5-point favorite. Dejanay Carrington very likely to miss this one once again. And you'll notice that the absence for Carrington plus a growing comfortability for Paige has seen her scoring really start to uptick since she returned from injury. Remember, she missed about 10 or so days due to a concussion. Paige is averaging over 22 points per game in that stretch, and she's not even having the most efficient run all in all. In her 3 of her last 4 games, she's under 45% from the floor individually. Yet we've seen her now score 20-plus in 3 straight games. She's paired that with multiple 7-assist games. She had a 9-rebound game tossed in there. I think Paige Beckers is worth a shot. And the reality is, wanting to attack Paige and Hamby, it is somewhat a fade of Caitlin Clark, not necessarily because I think Caitlin Clark is in line for a bad performance against Seattle, though it is on the board. It's a team everybody knows I'm really high on in the Storm, and defensively could give Clark some troubles. But for those who participated in the King of the Court promo, no, the Jokic bonus bets were quite underwhelming. And I imagine that if Caitlin Clark does end up the queen of the court tonight, if she has a 30-point triple-double, which if she does, she's going to, ultimately be the leader, that bonus bet is going to be so small, I almost feel it's not worth it. I am betting in the Storm Fever game. I'm betting on that over at 167.5. I think in some spots that number has dropped down to 166.5. If you look, each team's most recent outing, they scored in the 80s, yet that was true without great efficiency. Specifically for the Fever and Caitlin Clark. Clark now in her last 2 games combined is 1 of 17 from 3. Her 3-point efficiency has been really, really bad in these 2 games out on the West Coast. I understand that West Coast trip continues, but I imagine for Clark, it'll be a real point of emphasis to get that 3-point shot going. I do think Seattle, though, could be in line for some bounce-back efforts, specifically in Skylar Diggins-Smith, and then, of course, still taking a look, or Skylar Diggins now, and then Gabby Williams as well, who's been starting to really stuff the stat sheet for that Storm team. The only game I didn't talk about is Minnesota and Washington. Naficha Collier out for this game, by the way. It's going to be Fee's 3rd missed game. It's something to monitor. When we think about the MVP race between, right now, the books believe Collier and Clark, I think one of the boosts for Collier, along, of course, with Minnesota having a 12-1 record and her averaging, 25-9 nearly, is the fact that Clark had the stretch of basketball that she missed. Collier, who would probably be the queen of the court favorite tonight if she were on the slate, is not out there and available. And if those little absences start to stack up, it can create some cracks in that MVP race 100%. Players you can keep your eye on tonight on the Minnesota side. I don't mind a Washington plus the points play with Collier out. They're 1-1 against the number of the Lynx in her absences. But Kayla McBride, a 17.5 points prop. Courtney Williams, if you could find a rebounds plus assist prop, which you can at 10.5, I think that's a nice look, actually. And probably one I'll look to make myself there. There's some value on Courtney Williams for the Lynx with an absent Nafisha Collier tonight. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come on back. We've got our guy Bobby Kravitsky checking in. We knew we were talking Celtics. We knew we were talking Drew Holiday. Did we know we were going to be talking a Kristaps trade? Well, we are now. That's next right here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, live right here on SportsGrid, and we're going to talk to our guy Bobby Kravitsky, one of our favorites here on Game Time Decisions. And Bobby, listen, I'm always excited to talk to you, but I didn't think I was going to get breaking news in between when we scheduled this and when we spoke. Kristaps Porzingis on his way to Atlanta, the most recent breaking news for Boston Celtics fans. What's your reaction to this deal?
Yeah, Kevin, clearly you and the team over at Game Time Decisions have racked up the karma points to be able to catch this in right now before I come on here. And look, this is the reality for the Celtics. Even after last night's Drew Holiday trade, which I'm sure we'll get into, The goal for them is to get under the second apron. Now, they do have time on their side. They have to accomplish that by the end of the upcoming league year. But with Kristaps Porzingis in particular, you run the risk of an injury or his stock actually taking a hit if you carry him into the regular season. So the prudent thing to do, and the certainly less stressful maneuvering, is to get it done now, handle your business early. And they were able to find a 3-team deal, which, especially under this collective bargaining agreement, where not a lot of teams have cap space, is really tough to do. It's why everyone playing armchair GM loops the Brooklyn Nets in, because they actually have cap space. And so the Celtics were able to find a team that wanted Porzingis and the Atlanta Hawks, and a deal that satisfied the Brooklyn Nets, who get a first round pick to add to their treasure chest of draft capital.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think that Nets piece of it is really fascinating. But focusing in on Boston, Bobby, this Kristaps deal, it's not a stunner, right? We knew that once the Celtics were eliminated in round 2 and lost Jason Tatum to the torn Achilles, there were moves coming. This the second of 2, at least so far. What was your reaction to finding out Drew Holiday was going back to Portland with Anthony Simons, now a Boston Celtic?
Yeah, I'll say this. There were rumblings yesterday of Portland being a pretty serious suitor for Drew Holiday. I think they closed relatively quickly to get this done. I did not expect them, before yesterday, certainly, I did not expect them to be the landing spot. It's the team the Celtics got Drew Holiday from just in the aftermath of the Damian Lillard trade, where he goes to Milwaukee and Holiday ricochets to Boston and becomes an essential part of them winning a title last year. So him going to the Blazers, look, he's a veteran leader. He fits their defensive culture that they're continuing to cultivate around a lot of young talent, and he's still a productive two-way player. So it makes sense on a lot of fronts. I expect the Blazers to keep him. I believe that's their intention. And for the Celtics, Anthony Simons is better than a lot of again, to cite the armchair GMs, what a lot of people were mocking the Celtics getting in return for Drew Holiday. Anthony Simons is better than a lot of what you would find on that front. And on top of it, because Holiday has $104.4 million left on his contract, people thought the Celtics might have to attach draft capital to move off it. Instead, they get back 2 second-round picks. And that certainly made it easier to then do the Kristaps deal, where they attach draft capital to his contract.
Yeah, I think the most notable thing, Bobby, is the money is what is driving all of these decisions for the Boston Celtics. And that means the questions are not over, because competing is not goal number 1 for this team next offseason. It was figuring out the money piece of it. Now, trading Jaylen Brown is the most drastic move that they could possibly make. It's not one that was at minimum ruled out entering the offseason. What do you think JB's standing is following Drew and Kristaps being dealt?
Yeah, it's a great question. I expect Jaylen Brown and Derek White to be on the Celtics next season. This is a fluid situation, of course, and everyone has a price. But at the same time, you look at the Celtics, they can't be done because they have to fill out the roster, and that includes the draft. And so they're ultimately going to end up over the second apron as is currently constructed. So more moves are coming. But to me, Jaylen Brown and Derek White will continue in Boston, and the Celtics, I think they look at this more like a gap year, Kevin, and then hope for the best with Jason Tatum and believe with those three, they can resume championship contention. So the name to watch is Sam Hauser, who his contract is team friendly at about $10 million. But even with the Celtics getting under the second apron, their financial outlook is such that his contract and the taxes attached to it make it effectively $55 million for one season, which he's a very nice player. You can't spend $55 million on Sam Hauser. And especially with, again, there's still a need to get further under the second apron to ultimately continue and remain below that threshold when you're done filling out the roster. So Sam Hauser is definitely a name to keep an eye on here.
Bobby, let me ask you this before we let you get out of here. Celts pick 28th tomorrow, NBA draft. SportsGrid will have their coverage. I'm sure you'll be following everything around the league, but of course through the Boston perspective. Any names you may be hearing around the 28th pick in Boston?
Yeah, I'll be at the Auerbach Center tomorrow night. We'll speak to Brad Stevens at the end of round one. And I wouldn't be surprised if they use that first round pick on a home run swing. So maybe a raw athlete like a Drake Powell or a Noah Penda, perhaps an Adu Theroux. So they've tended to shy away from players that can't shoot. But I think given the circumstances of this team, I wouldn't be surprised if they swing big on an athlete that they believe in.
No Ryan Kalkbrenner? We're not going to get the Kalkbrenner-Shireman reunion, Bobby?
I mean, there's definitely a possibility of a Creighton reunion. If we're talking centers, Maxime Reynaud from Stanford, former teammate of Victor Wembanyama, is another name to monitor. But I wouldn't be surprised, and it could be Kalkbrenner, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go after a high upside athlete.
The one thing with the Celtics in this draft is there are Celtics fans, and you can confirm this, Bobby, who do believe the player going first overall eventually will wear Celtic green and Cooper flag.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people think he'll be the first to turn down the max extension, hit the market, and come home. You know, you never go against the town, as they say.
Oh, my gosh. It's one of those things, I will say. I think everybody around the league finds Celtics fans ridiculous for thinking it, but nobody's going to rule it out until he actually does sign that max extension. Bobby, we appreciate it. As always, maybe you'll have a quiet July if Boston gets all these moves done early.
From your mouth to God's ears, Kevin.
Bobby Gravitsky, man, always appreciated here on SportsGrid. Did Chase Burns lock up NL Rookie of the Year already? We'll figure it out after this break.
Just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I did thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. I thought San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here, reportedly, of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark?
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter and this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. You know, don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, with you right here on SportsGrid. I want to circle back to some of the Boston stuff in a moment, but I'm not kidding. Chase Burns, 1 inning into his Major League Baseball career, went from 15-1 to win NL Rookie of the Year to 10-1 to win NL Rookie of the Year, and I don't even know if it moved enough. At bat number 1, Trent Grisham. See you later. That's 1 strikeout. At bat number 2, Ben Rice. 3-0 count. Shouldn't have taking the pitch right down the middle. See you later. Strikeout number 2. Big dog Aaron Judge. This one's going to the see ya. Strikeout 3. Chase Burns has a 100% strikeout rate. Figure out that xFIP. Figure that out. Figure out that WOBA over replacement. Cut it out, man. That is impressive. That is impressive, Chase Burns. Now, with that said, it's not, Crystal Ball Thursday. So I'm not here to give out NL Rookie of the Year picks. We're here to bet the Yankees. So let's wake this thing up a little bit. Hope it happens. Now, let's re-rack the best bets and everybody else's action out there, because why not? We're here with you on a Tuesday. We're going to talk to Brady Cannon in just a little bit, get his thoughts with the golf coming up. For me, best bet, Storm Fever over the buck 67.5. Kofsky is fading Andrew Heaney over 4.5 team total for the Brewers. Flamingo money line. FIFA Club World Cup. Does it have juice for you? That's the real question. I feel like in terms of seeing the results, like you see when Messi advances, and like you might catch like a PSG Bayern update. I believe Messi is actually going to, and Inter Miami are going to play PSG in the round of 16. So maybe you'll start to get a little more juice there. White Sox money line. Whoa. You know what? Under the hat, bias best bet day. AJ with the White Sox money line. Yarniz with a James Wood home run. Late night for Washington. I really like the my vibes play of the day is Padres money line. Now, I understand that price is not good. But if we can just sell me something here a little bit. Here's why. The first time Ryan Bergert took the mound, he was at home. 7 straight appearances, all on the road. Trevor Williams for Washington, 4 straight appearances, all at home. It's almost like a whoa, where am I kind of game. And I like the Padres also coming off of a loss at home. James Wood home run, Tommy Edman home run, Vladdy Jr., let's wake it up, pal. Casey Schmidt plus 550. Does Vlad have an RBI? Nah, just a single. Just a single. Got in the 3rd inning. That's where things are. Quick Boston Celtics thing with the Drew deal and the Kristaps deal. Bobby certainly letting us know he doesn't imagine Jaylen Brown will be dealt. And I think that it is certainly the favorite that Jaylen Brown is not dealt. But if you're looking to mess around in some of the futures markets, okay, the Celtics are one of the top wait till the dust settle teams, because I do not see a deal for Boston that's going to drop the number, if you wanted to be in, that's going to drop that number to 9-1, 8-1, or anything like that, where the Celtics moving Jaylen Brown, like, it's not a 0% thing. So I think it is still something that we're going to monitor, because Boston being able to move on from Drew and move on from Kristaps and not have to, attach first or anything like that, it gives them flexibility. But the return for this team, who probably will lose Al Horford in free agency, maybe some others, they are not going to be set up to contend next year. And I could see the Celtics group being enamored with the idea of being awful next year. I know that might sound jarring, but I could see Boston really being tempted by that. Like, if JB's on the roster, I almost want to take under games played then, if anything. Just something to keep your eyes on. We'll update that baseball board. We'll update the Chase Burns watch. Talk some golf next.
just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. That's what San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here, reportedly, of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark?
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter or this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Chase Brown watch. How exciting. Chase Burns, excuse me. I'm thinking football now. Jazz Chisholm singled off him. This guy's a fraud. Send him back down. Easy peasy. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Chase Burns, by the way. All right, so I'm glad Brady's here. Brady Cannon's here. We're talking golf. But also, Brady is an oddsman, if you will. So we can kind of talk anything. Burns was 15-1 to win Cy Young before this start. It is a start that had eyeballs on it. He struck out his first 5 batters. His Rookie of the Year price was 15-1, not Cy Young. Although I'm about to find out what the Cy Young number is. It's plus 450, Brady. He's in the second inning of his career, and the 15-1 is down to plus 450. I can't remember something like that.
No. And you know what I love about it? People are paying attention to baseball. That's the best thing. And I love the hype that has come around this kid making his first start tonight. I was involved. I was involved in the Reds versus the Yankees on Monday night, won that bet, thankfully, did not go back to the window with either side. But I, was watching that game and heard that Burns was going to be making his major league debut tonight. So I was excited about it. It's great to see that bettors are engaged and it's getting some attention. I love this Reds club. I love Terry Francona. You and I were talking off air. I bet their season win total over. But also, I do want to, have a little caution here before we all run to the window and jump on Chase Burns, because it is not uncommon at all that you will have a kid get called up from AAA, making his major league debut. He's always been, whatever it is. When a pitcher comes in, especially to begin, maybe a first 5 innings, 3 innings, what have you, if hitters have never seen his stuff before, oftentimes they have a great deal of success. And I'm not trying to poo-poo what Burns has done here. I hope he's a star. I hope, stars are good for baseball. But I'm just saying, if you had 15-1 in your pocket, okay, but I'm not going to pile on at plus 450 or whatever, because you never know what he's going to do as people start to get too accustomed to his stuff.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. Betting the plus 450 is a bad idea. I now wish, Brady, I had a piece of the 15-1, though, because this kid is all of a sudden, it's the type of, to your point about people talking baseball, Chase Burns has now guaranteed that his second start is noteworthy. Now we now have to, hey, how does he follow it up right away? We are here to talk some golf, though. Let me just ask you, all in all, Brady, what was your takeaway from last week where Scotty, round one leader, I think he was, minus 230 at one point in the first round of that tournament. He ends up, of course, with a good finish. He always finishes well. But that final tournament, that was between Keegan Bradley and Tommy Fleetwood. What was your big takeaway?
He cost a lot of people money for not finishing top 5. You know, that you and I were sitting here talking, I think it was on Thursday afternoon. I thought he was a good bet after round one. He in fact, our colleague Mike Carver hit him for first round leader. He chopped first round leader with one other player. I think it was Austin Eckroat. But I mean, you get Scotty Scheffler off to a start like that, a tournament where he's the defending champion, a relatively easy course where we're expecting somewhat of a birdie fest here. And it was on Saturday, which was really odd, Kevin. The entire field, you had perfect conditions on Saturday. There was little to no wind at all, and people went nuts. Russell Henley shot 61, Fleetwood shot 63. Everybody was under par by a lot. It was clearly the best day to attack the golf course. What did Scotty Scheffler do? He shot over par. He shot 72. One of the worst rounds he shot in the last 3 or 4 years when he's been on this number one player in the world type run. He started the day with a triple bogey, and then in that same 9 holes made a double bogey. So it was really odd to see what Scotty did last week. And gosh, I think everybody in the golf world, golf betting space, what have you, feels bad for Tommy Fleetwood. As this guy goes on, continues without a win on the PGA Tour, and I always say this, he's won double-digit times around the world, but he's never won on the PGA Tour. And as this streak continues, I think it just gets harder and harder for him. And, I saw a good point from a friend who I have a ton of respect for, Ben Coley from the UK. And he said, Keegan's in this field this week, but Tommy's not. If Tommy's only playing signature events and majors for the most part, it's going to be even harder to get that first win on the PGA Tour. He needs to mix in a Rocket Classic or something like that.
So then talk to me, Brady, about this week here. Colin Morikawa is the favorite, but Keegan Bradley coming off the win, not too far behind. In between them is Patrick Cantlay. Everybody else is 22-1 or better. Who's catching your attention at the Rocket Mortgage?
Not Colin Morikawa. This guy, is similar to Fleetwood, where he just hasn't won in a long time. I've been on him a couple times this year and been disappointed, and I just don't know if he has the mindset to kick the door down right now. Patrick Cantlay's been, pretty fair to Midland, throughout this season as well. And so I went with a guy that has been really coming around in good form, and a lot of people have been jumping on the bandwagon, and I was reluctant to do so. But now we talk about against a watered down field where he's going to be one of the better players. I'm not going to bet him in a signature event, not going to bet him in a major, but Cameron Young. This is a really good golf course for him. He bombs it off the tee. His putting has been vastly improved. He's finished runner-up here before. He's famously or infamously finished runner-up 7 times in his career, one of them here at the Rocket Classic. So I went with Cam Young this week. I got him at 27. He's anywhere between 25 and 28-1. I think he's 28 at FanDuel, which I think is a pretty darn good price. And then I went with Davis Thompson, who I was on last week and had a nice week. At the Travelers, he ranked 3rd in that field for strokes gained approach. He's really got to improve the putting, though, if he can find. And this is exactly when he heated up last summer and got his first win at the John Deere Classic, which comes up next week. So it could be that time where he's rounding into form once again. And then after that, Kevin, I went pretty deep on the board. Stefan Jager at 70-1, another bomber who can make a lot of birdies. Emiliano Grillo, who's finished runner-up here before. Victor Perez, who's been in really good form, finished top 20 at the U.S. Open, as did Chris Kirk, who finished 12th at Oakmont. And Chris Kirk is a great wedge player. And The Bombers can really do well at this course, Kevin. It's not hard to find the fairways. And if you'd missed the fairway, the rough is not penal. So there's going to be a ton of shots in that 100 to 125 yard range. And that's the wheelhouse for Chris Kirk.
This is going to be a really interesting one, though, because I love how you started it off, Brady, in that Morikawa, I think name-wise, I wouldn't have been surprised if that was an 8 or so to 1 next to his name. Yeah. And it feels like he's maybe not giving people enough win equity to justify that price. That's really, really interesting heading into this tournament.
I totally agree with you. We're used to seeing Scotty at the top at 3 to 1 or less, right? Last week it was Scotty and Rory. If you look at the Open Championship coming up, it's Scotty and Rory, and Rahm is not too far behind. But here we have a tournament where the favorite's like 15 to 1, and it's the 5th ranked player in the world. I agree with you. I think it speaks loudly about Colin Morikawa and the state of his game.
Yeah, it's going to be one to follow here. And I will remind everybody, again, SportsGrid, Brady, Mike, Cam, Keith, it is, I think, what we do better than anything we do. And I'm not involved in it. So you know that's not coming from some ego standpoint there. I'd like to sneak my way in. I don't know how, but those guys got it covered.
All 3 of those guys hit Keegan Bradley last week. I was the odd man out. I was the Dumbo who was not on Captain Keegan last week. But
sounds like you're due. Sounds like you're due. Brady, we appreciate it as always. We're talking WNBA with Coach James Young next here on Sports.
Just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I did thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. That's what San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here, reportedly, of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark?
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter or this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, guys, back to right here on SportsGrid. I want to just say 100% credit pie to the team in the back for making sure that the Yankees-Reds game was the main event, because the Chase Burns watch, I think, is very clearly the most captivating thing on this slate. Like, I now cannot wait to see Burns get back out there for the next inning. Like, I understand I laid a run and a half. It's not over. I'm not done. But what would Chase... All right, here's a question to the air before we talk some W with Coach. What would Chase Burns have to finish this game? What stat line to be NL Rookie of the Year favorite? I'm going to leave that question. I know our team in the back is going to debate their answers. I'll probably report back to you in 10 minutes. All right? But let's talk some WNBA because tonight you got great games and you've got the queen of the court. I want to remind everybody, okay, that DK promo, I think it's a treat. I think you should be involved. You can basically take 2 cracks at it. By the way, if you want, whoever leads this slate tonight of WNBA action in points, rebounds, and assists, you'll get a share of a bonus bet. Caitlin Clark is the favorite and will likely be the most popular bet with the highest expected point, rebound, assist number tonight. Her number is 36+. You're getting 30+ at -110 on Paige Beckers and Kelsey Plum. You're getting 30+ on Ryan Howard at +125, and you're getting a +145 price on Angel Reese. Okay? So that is where that Queen of the Court thing sits right now. Let's get Coach James Young in here, JY. Great to have you in the mix, sir. We'll see if time allows. We'll get over to some of the NBA trades, but are you involved at all, Queen of the Court, tonight, on maybe someone that you think could lead this slate in points, rebounds, and assists?
I am not, Kevin, just hearing about it for the first time, but, I'll be honest with you. I would be looking squarely at Paige Beckers. Paige has been hot like fish grease since coming back, and she's someone that, Caitlin Clark can stuff the stat sheet. Also, a team like Atlanta, if you look at the game, with the total, that total is sitting at 168.5 points, which is the highest total on the slate by one versus Indiana. Now, to me, Indiana we'll get to some of their off-court stuff because the Dewana Bonner stuff that's broken the last hour is absolutely wild. But it's not shocking as soon as she lost her starting spot to Lexi Hull. And I think Seattle, and you and I have been big on them, is a little bit better than what people thought. To me, I'm looking at Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers has been hot. I mean, really hot since she got back from injury. I would look at Paige Beckers at 30+ at -110.
Yeah, I'm on Paige Beckers over 18.5 points, and Darica Hamby for Queen of the Court tonight on 18.5 over for Paige Beckers, and give me a 7.5 rebound number for Hamby for the Sparks. So, JY, tell me, where does your WNBA card start tonight? Where are you seeing some value on the board?
Well, to me, you're looking at, if you're looking at an over, it's probably in LA, Chicago, but I'm just worried about Chicago, carrying their end of the bargain, Kevin. To me, I look at Chicago, LA minus the points, and I know how I feel about a team like Chicago. I just think they're poor. So I would go LA minus the points. Minnesota, Washington is an intriguing game. I'd probably still be looking at Minnesota minus the 8. Washington has been good. Folks, I will say this. Even though Paige probably will run away, I would not blame you if you put a couple of bucks on Sonia Citron to be Rookie of the Year. She sneakily, Kevin, had a very good year. If Paige gets hurt more than Kiki Ariafen, I look at for the Rookie of the Year. So look at Minnesota minus the points. Lastly, Indiana lost 2 games in a row. On the road, Seattle's really good. It's 3.5. I would rather play this game live, wait for a run, and then jump on Seattle on the money line when I can versus Indiana.
What's the money line of you versus that earpiece? That thing's beating you up.
Oh, it beat me up. It's like a struggle bus, man. Holy moly.
This poor guy. I've never seen someone just get knocked around the whole time.
The whole time.
JY, you feel good now?
I am Hot Mess Express right now. But you know what? I will not be Hot Mess Express. That's tomorrow night during the NBA draft. I'll be reared up and ready to go.
Let me ask you this here, Coach, for that Storm Fever game. For Indiana, I don't think it's a must-win, but what kind of questions will you have if this game ends up a Seattle victory? It's not an easy win for the Fever to get, obviously, and they're now dealing with a 2-game losing streak.
It's an incredibly tough game to win because when you started the road trip, you looked at the Valkyries as being a win. They blew that game. Then they're going against the Aces team that's not as good as we thought. Lose to them. We talked about getting Caitlin Clark back. and going one way. Take away the New York Liberty game. They've gone the opposite way, Kevin. So to me, this is a big spot for a team that, if you're talking about title aspirations, they could be looking at 6-8. If Washington, they can have the same record, as basically as the Washington Mystics. And you're at a point right now that John Quell Jones is out 4 to 6 weeks, and Sabrina Ionescu didn't play the last game for Seattle. Like, this is where you try and make up games in the standings, because I truly believe the Liberty, K-Dub, I'm not saying they're punting towards the postseason, but they're definitely taking their time with John Quell to get back. This is a big spot for Indiana Fever team tonight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting if Clark and the Fever can't grab this one, because, look, we lost at Vegas. Okay. We lost at Seattle. Okay. But the Valkyries lost Hurts. And then it's the reminder of this team's inability to put the wins on the board during Caitlin's absence. A loss to the Connecticut Sun, inexcusable. A loss to the Mystics, likely wouldn't have happened. Even the game that Caitlin was injured, or Caitlin's last game, the one against the Liberty, that was a blown fourth quarter lead. Now, I'm not saying that you put all of those on the board in the win column, but it gives you a little bit less wiggle room, all in all. We're going to take a break. We're going to come on back, and we're going to give you a re-rack of best bets, as well as any of the Dinger Tuesday picks that have not started, and just get some quick thoughts from Coach James Young on the Kristaps Porzingis deal. I think I might start to call it the Brooklyn Nets acquired the 22nd overall pick deal. That's next right here. It's Game Time Decision.
Just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money. Now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player from the free agent market, it's $300+ million. I thought San Francisco made out well.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of this price tag here, reportedly, of $1.7 billion for a club that right now technically doesn't even have a home ballpark?
We don't see a lot of teams sold in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets for $2.4 billion. The only team sold since then was the Orioles last year, also for around $1.7 billion.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun, going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter and this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Like, don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here. Chase Burns, Fraud Watch. I mean, this guy didn't even strike anybody out last inning. Are you kidding me? Did they move his Rookie of the Year? It's down to 3-1. Wait, nobody gave me their guesses in the back. Somebody in my ear. I know you guys said, yeah, what is the Chase Burns? 7 innings, 12 strikeouts. 1 or fewer earned runs would get him favorite status in Rookie of the Year. I would say 10 strikeouts. I don't think he needs 12. I think
playing the Marlins?
7 innings of 1-run baseball with 10 Ks, and because Mizorowski's at 11 innings pitched, so that's movable. Poor Drake Baldwin. Remember, poor Drake. Drake Baldwin's not dead yet, all right? Not dead yet. JY, it's great to have you here, pal.
Wait. Drake Baldwin, Corbin Burns, Cedric Burns,
it's going
Mr.
in the
Burns
JY jar. You're gonna stop. You can't say these names. You can't say these names. Here's the names you can say: Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Anthony Simons, Terrence Mann, if you want, Georges Niang. Coach, your reaction? We only have a certain amount of time to the Boston Celtics trading away 2 pieces from their championship team just 2 seasons ago.
Man, listen. Stevie Wonder conceded that the Celtics did not get better today. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I know you Celtics fan. No. First things first, K-Dub and I had a good conversation this morning. And we talked about the trade for Anthony Simons. And you Celtics fans tell me what he does that's a Boston Celtic. Doesn't share the ball. Doesn't shoot it at a high clip. Plays terrible defense. He scored 20 points a game. For Portland. This is like when the Knicks got Andrea Bargnani. He said, Bargnani scored 20 points a game with Toronto. Here he comes to New York. And I think people don't understand the importance of Drew Holiday. I'm going to say this right now. Kevin and I are talking about it. Hot take of the day. Shaedon Sharpe is better than Anthony Simons. Complete player, better defensively. I would take Shaedon Sharpe over Anthony Simons. So then you go to Porzingis. And Al Horford is going to be a free agent, right? Luke Cornett is going to be a free agent. I understand for the tax reasons you had to move Porzingis. You got Georges Niang in the second rounder back? And you're going to tell me? I mean, hey, man, listen. Georges Niang, Luke Cornett, 4-5 combination. How you doing, Boston? I mean, let's just call it what it is. Boston had taxes to pay. Tatum got hurt. They are slow playing this to 2026 or 2027. They're not winning a championship in 2026. They have showed you that. But for anybody to sit there and now tell me that Anthony Simons and Jaylen Brown are going to play together as your 2-3 combination, Kevin, I don't see it at all. I thought it was a terrible trade for them. I thought it was a great trade for Atlanta. Now watch with Okongwu and Capella. Something gets done. There's another domino that's about to drop there with Atlanta. So let's see what happens with them. And Terrence Mann, a serviceable defender, will bring some leadership to Brooklyn, and a 22 pick. Now I'm wondering if Brooklyn now tries to take, 8 and 22 and move up in the draft, because I still maintain, Kevin, I don't know why I'm the only person to think this. I think this whole Ace Bailey thing is a smokescreen. I think he's going 3, and some way he's ending up in Brooklyn tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think Ace Bailey would like to be a Brooklyn Net. My only hesitation is Philly willing to trade down to 8? But
if there's one caveat, if they can get rid of Paul George's contract. And I think what's crazy? I think the Nets will have the money to absorb it. If they want Ace Bailey that bad, they have the money to absorb it. Maybe they don't have to trade 22. Maybe they just trade 22 and Paul George. I think they want this kid, and they'll take Paul George to get it.
And look, it's good that we're talking about this now, because who knows if we'll be able to really get into it tomorrow. But I just think that the Sixers should not rush to get rid of Paul George. When we think about that open East, I think that applies to Philly as well. Excited for tomorrow's NBA draft. Do not forget, though, in-game live tonight, we'll be covering the baseball board and the WNBA slate. Queen of the court for me, Paige Beckers and Darica Hamby. I'm on the over tonight, Storm Fever. That's 167.5. We've got some action already out there from the crew around the White Sox, Flamengo, the Brewers. Root in the Tommy Edman and James Wood and Casey Schmidt home runs later tonight. Don't forget Vladdy Jr. to go deep for our guy Casino Chris. That is already in action. We will see you tomorrow on SportsGrid for the NBA draft.